Now let's look at some price action on USD CAD from last few years, and let's see what we've got. So this is the USD CAD weekly chart, right? And here you can see the yearly data from the last few years. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to be using the inverted info and data here, right? So we learned from the seasonality chart that USD CAD has a tendency to go higher from September to December's end, right? Now right here you can see that these rectangles outline on price, and these rectangles represent the time window from September to December from each year. Now we're going to look at all of this price action within these rectangles, which is basically the seasonal times, right? And we'll see if that seasonality for USD CAD stays true or not, right? And how you could have used seasonal tendency to help you with time and your higher time frame analysis. So first off, right here we've got this rectangle which represents the time window from September to December of 2009 outlined here, right? We learned that seasonally USD CAD has a tendency to go higher during this particular time. So now we'll see if that stays true and how often we go higher. And you can clearly see right here during these particular time and these particular months, USD CAD did indeed go higher and found bullish price action, just as the seasonality chart had told us, right? So you can see that it stayed true right here, and you could have used seasonal tendency, which would have given you the right direction for USD CAD during this time. Now remember, we are just using it alone here, right? We haven't even integrated the other concepts with it yet, right? And just for the sake of this part of the chapter, I'm explaining it alone. So just imagine when we integrate the other concept with it as well, and then imagine how much your accuracy is going to increase and how much is going to be, right? So you can see right here, just because of seasonal tendency, you could have been bullish here and you could have looked for long-term bullish swing and bullish swing trades here, and that would have worked out perfectly for you. Next up we've got is this one. You can see price kind of ranged here and had this up move for small time, but overall the price direction was to the downside during this time of the year, which means that it did not follow the seasonal tendencies. But remember, you wouldn't use this alone, right? If you had used the other concepts, then you would have seen that price was indeed in a bearish order flow and structure. That's why it only offered a small upside swing in the overall direction was bearish, and you could have avoided it if you had used the other concepts, right? Next up we've got is this price action right here from September to December, right? And you can see again price formed lower price action, which mean it did not follow the seasonality. But right here next year you can see that during this time window price went higher and formed higher prices and bullish price action, right? What you can also see right here is that at the start of the seasonal time window from September to December, we had a turtle soup, and after that turtle soup happened, we kept going higher, right? That initiated this expansion move higher. In the same manner, even next year from September to December, price followed the bullish seasonal tendency for this particular time for USD CAD and formed higher prices. Similarly, next year as well, we formed higher prices and had bullish price action, right? So right here you can see that throughout 8 years in worth of data, and out of these 8 years, price for 6 years successfully formed higher prices and respected the bullish seasonality, right? And followed the bullish seasonal tendency for USD CAD at these time windows, right? Now the two times it did not, you could have avoided it by integrating it with key levels, daily ranges, and so on, and that would have increased your accuracy even more. But you can see out of these 8 times that we just checked, this data that we just checked, just because of seasonal tendency, without using anything else, you could have been right 6 of the times about price, and you could have expected higher prices just because of seasonal tendencies, right? Now moving on, here we got the next few years data, a few years of data for USD CAD, and we're gonna see the same time window of September to December, and we're gonna see if price did follow the bullish seasonal tendency for USD CAD or not. Now we know that USD CAD is predisposed and prone to go higher from September to December according to the seasonal chart, right, in the seasonality data. And again, now let's see if that holds true. Right here, first one, you can see that this rectangle, and you can see price did form higher prices and had bullish price action, right, which means that it respected the bullish seasonal tendency. If you zoom in, you would also see that it had a turtle soup and then it kept going higher You would notice this in all of the seasonal time windows. Similarly, again this time from September to December, this year price again followed the bullish seasonal tendency and formed higher prices, and you can see that seasonal tendency would have assisted you in your higher time frame analysis, and your drawn liquidity would have been right, and you could have successfully traded it on the lower time frame and even on the higher time frame. Similarly, again this time as well, price formed a turtle soup and then it kept going higher from September to December, right? And you can see how good these seasonality are working, right? And I'm not even using the other concepts at the moment, right? And that will be necessary for you to use. So imagine when you combine it with the other ones, and then imagine how much your accuracy is going to be and how good your accuracy is going to be, right? Similarly, you can see the rest of data yourself, and you can see the rest of the year's price did indeed respected and followed seasonal data, and that data stayed true for USD CAD, and it actually had higher prices in from bullish price action during this particular time of the year, right? And price respected it, right? From September to December, we saw from the seasonal tendency chart that USD CAD has a tendency to go higher, and now we've checked around 15 years worth of data, and out of these 15 years you can see that 13 of the times price did went higher and respected that bullish seasonal tendency, right? You can see that we are now finally using time, right? And we are using time to assist us with our analysis, right? And now at that time, for now you can see that this is just for the higher time frame, but once we learn all of this, then I'm going to show you how you could do this even on the lower time frames in later levels of CPI, right? Moving on, and next one we've got right here is the Aussie dollar seasonal chart, and again we've got the same framework, but this time you can see that the data is from the last 20 years, right? Now what you need to remember is that there must be at least 15 years worth of data to derive a seasonal function or to summarize a huge sum of data, right? The bigger the data, the more accurate and the more better it's going to be, right? Here we got 20 years of data, which is more than enough to be trusted in, and which is more than enough to be confident in it, right? So on the bottom we've got the names of the month, and then the data is on the charts, right here. Based on this 20 years of summarized data, you can see that the Aussie dollar has a tendency to go higher during the last 2 months of the year, right? From November to the end of December, it has a likelihood and tendency to go higher, right? Now if you ask me why I chose this particular data, then the answer is that it's random, right? I'm just explaining one part to you here. You can select and choose any data from the seasonal chart, and it'll work the same. For example, you can choose this data from April, and you could conclude that the Aussie dollar has a tendency to go higher during April, right? And if you backtest this, it will stay true for the most of the time, right? So don't think that it only works for specific times of the year. uh, but remember that it stays true for all over the year, right? You can choose any data from here, and just for the sake of the explanation of the seasonal tendency, I've just chosen this data from November to the end of December, right? I've chosen this randomly. You can choose this. You can choose any data you want, right? Now let's look at some charts. So the from the seasonal tendency chart, we saw that the Aussie dollar has a tendency to go higher from November till December's end, right? So let's look at some data based off of that, and let's see if that holds true. So you can see these rectangles again, and these rectangles represent the data from November to the end of December each year for the last few years for the Aussie dollar, right? So let's see. First one right here, you can see that price did go higher and made bullish price action during this particular time, which means that it followed the bullish seasonality and respected it. Second one, again you can see that during this time price followed the bullish seasonality and found higher prices, right? One thing you need to remember is this data is not random at all, right? We are using 30 years worth of data to conclude all of this, right? And that is summarized proper data, right? Not just some random gimmick, right? So remember that price always follows a rhythmic sequence every time, and there's logic behind every move that price makes throughout the year, right? Now again this time You can see inside this rectangle from November to December, price again formed higher prices and respected the bullish seasonal tendency. Similarly, the next 3 years as well, we only formed higher prices and bullish price action during this particular time, right? You can see how accurately this thing works, right? And I'm only using it alone here, and once we fully integrate it with the other stuff, it will completely change your perspective. Moving on to the next slide right here. We're going to discuss how we can use bearish seasonal tendencies in our analysis, right? We already discussed how to use the bullish ones, and now we're going to discuss the bearish ones here. Right here you can see that the DXY or USD seasonal chart, you can see that this is the summarized data for the last 30 years for dollar or DXY, right? And you can see that each month USD followed a specific theme and pattern here with specific characteristic each time, and you can see the average of all of that 30 years worth of data on this chart right here, right? You can see the average. You can see that from January to March ends, it usually forms higher prices. Usually USD or DXY tends to form higher prices from January to March, right? Which means that if the dollar forms higher prices, then the other pairs like Euro USD or GBP USD will form lower prices, right? So if you are trading Euro USD or GBP USD, then you're going to be using the inverted information from here, right? So here it shows that the dollar from higher prices from January to March, which means that on EU it will form lower prices, right? Now moving on, right here you can see this Euro USD weekly chart, right? And these rectangles represent the first 3 months of each year from January to March, right? And we're gonna check this data inside these rectangles, and we're gonna see if price does actually follows the bearish seasonality. And right here, the first time window and price action inside this rectangle, you can see that price did consistently form lower price action from January to March, right? Similarly, next year as well, Euro USD again formed lower prices and bearish price action, which means that it followed the bearish historic seasonality, right? Similarly, the next few years again it followed the same theme and rhythm and kept making lower prices during this particular time of the year, right? And respected the bearish seasonality. This is how you know when and where could a particular pair form particular price action, right? You can see that we are finally integrating time, right? We are using time to see when can we form bearish price action or bullish price action. Now, now during this time of the year, you can be cautious around price, right? Inside these rectangles or from January to March, and you should only look for bearish trading ideas and framework, right? And if you can successfully manage that and successfully integrate it with the rest of the concepts, it will help you a lot, and it will really assist you in your trading and your higher time frame analysis, right? Seasonal tendency will make sure that you never end up on the wrong side of the market side. That is what it will do. So whenever you are doing your higher time frame analysis, make sure to use seasonal tendencies for your respective pair, and then that will guide you to make more informed and accurate decisions. Now moving on to the next part of chapter, here we'll discuss how we can combine seasonal tendencies with the other concepts to make much more informed and accurate decision, and how we can actually incorporate them together to have a higher margin of accuracy and precision, right? So first one we've got right here is for bullish trading ideas, right? We're going to discuss how we're going to use bullish seasonal tendencies or seasonal or historic tendencies to generate or produce bullish trading ideas, right? And support our long trades. So the first protocol is that combine bullish supporting ideas like higher time frame key levels, dealing ranges, market profiles, and so on during bullish seasonal tendencies, and it will outperform everything else, right? That will make sure you have the best accuracy. Second protocol is that use it as a confluence, right? Don't just buy because there is a bullish seasonality, but instead wait for the right opportunity in framework before buying it, and that framework will be derived from the concepts like key levels, dealing ranges, and so on, right? Moving on, right here again you can see the Aussie dollar seasonality chart, and right here, as we discussed before, during the last 2 months, November and December, Aussie dollar usually tends to form higher prices, right? So now we're going to use this fact and use this data to see how we could have used it, right? So let's look at some charts. You can see this rectangle right here. This rectangle represents the last 2 months of the year, from November to December's end, right? And we learned that the Aussie dollar has a tendency to form higher pricing during this particular time inside this rectangle. So let's see if we can combine any other trading ideas and concepts or bullish supporting trade ideas to form an idea or prediction here. Right here, first of all, you can see that we've got this key level in the form of this order block right here, right? And second of all, we've got these equal highs which could potentially act as a target for us, right? What you can also see about this order block is that it's in the discount extreme region of this dealing range, right? So we can use it to support the bullish trading idea, and we can expect price to react off of it. Let's see what price does. You can see price closed above, and not only it tested the key level in the form of this order block, but it also turtle swooped these lows and formed this new order block, right? Now remember, I'm just using simple logic here on a single time frame, right? I haven't even used the higher time frame analysis or the top down analysis, right? I'm just using a single time frame analysis, and still it has such a good accuracy, right? But and remember, when you're using it in your analysis, you're going to make sure to integrate the top down analysis with it too, and integrate the monthly and the weekly analysis as well, right? Now let's see if price formed bullish prices during this particular time. Right here you can see that price indeed formed higher prices during this particular time and respected the bullish seasonal tendency, and we successfully managed to incorporate bullish trading ideas here, and it worked out for us, right? This is how you basically use bullish seasonal tendencies, right? With the other concepts. Moving on, next up we've got this another bullish seasonal tendency time for Aussie dollar, right? It's the same time from November to December's end, and we've got we know that during this particular time Aussie dollar tends to be tends to have high tends to form higher prices and bullish price action. So let's see what happens. You can see if price form this new order block right here inside this bullish seasonal time, right? And you can see this new order block is a bullish supporting trade idea, and now we're gonna see if price forms higher prices or not, right, inside this bullish seasonal tendency. So you can see inside this whole time window, price did indeed respected the bullish seasonal tendency and the bullish trading ideas, and this order block worked and formed higher prices, right? Moving on, here we're going to discuss how to combine bearish seasonal tendencies with bearish supporting ideas and concepts like key levels, dealing ranges, and market profiles, and so on, right? And again, you would follow the same two protocols. So we've got this DXY seasonal chart again, and we're going to use this to see how we could find bearish trading ideas during bearish seasonal times of the year and combine it with bearish supporting ideas, right? And the other concepts. Right here you can see that from January to March, DXY tends to be bullish, which means that EURUSD is going to form lower prices at this time of the year, right? So let's see how how could we analyze it. You can see on EU we've got this rectangle which represents the time from January to March, right? And we can see that the price had a turtle swoop during this particular time, and then after that price did indeed respected the bearish seasonal tendency and formed lower prices and bearish price action. You can see that you could have used this bearish seasonal tendency, and you would have been on the right side of the markets, and you could have profited off of it, right? Again, another example right here, you can see that price from January to March formed lower prices after the turtle swoop, and it kept going lower to form bearish price action, right? If we had used bearish seasonal tendency, then we would have been right, and we would have been on the correct side of the markets, right? And our accuracy and precision on the higher time frame would have been outstanding. This is how you use seasonal tendency to act as a confluence is a major confluence in your whole higher time frame analysis, how you can use it to gain a great deal of conviction in your analysis, right? First of all, we're going to discuss the time aspect for the higher time frame here, and then we're going to keep moving lower to the lower time frame and discuss the time aspect for all of the time frames, right? And then after going through level 3 and 4, you're going to have finally cracked the time aspect of the charts, and your whole perspective would be completely changed, right? You can not only use seasonality for higher or lower prices, but also you can use it as a filter as well, because you can see on the seasonal chart that certain times of the year price forms a range and a ranging profile, right? So you could use that data to be more cautious around price during this but that particular time of the year, and maybe even stay risk off, because you know the price is ranging and it's not forming any expansion anytime soon, so you could have a break there, right? You can see that it's such a good concept because it's based on huge sample size of data, and it works all the time, right? You've seen the example yourself of the years of data that I shown you, and it almost work every time, even without using the other concept, right? But make sure that you're going to use the other concept as well to attain or achieve the best results for it.